So, Mike, why did you want to use this subject for our concert?
Well, they said I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And this seemed like a topic that nobody ever talks about.
Uh-huh.
It's funny because, like, people who don't believe in God, if it were considered a religion itself, it's like the fastest growing one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And nobody ever talks about it.
Yeah.
And nobody ever openly says, you know what, I don't believe in that stuff.
Why do you think that is, that it's not really discussed?
Maybe because religion comes from your family oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a coincidence that most people born in America are Christian, and most people who are born in India are Hindu, and most people that are born in the Middle East are Muslim. They get it from their parents, and you love and admire your parents so much that giving up on something that your parents teach you feels almost like a betrayal.
Yeah,
and
true. There's almost a stigma kind of attached to it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
I mean, in America, there's certainly a stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
You can't run for public office in America and openly be atheist. It's
Wow, really? I didn't.
There is, I heard some statistic once, I wish I had the exact statistic, but there is no opinion that a public official can hold that is more damning when it comes to voting as being openly an atheist. You are more likely to get elected into office if you are once a convicted criminal than you are to be openly atheist.
Yeah.
And look, we're not going to change the world with this song, with this Liederabend or this recital, but I personally feel good to say this stuff out loud in front of a lot of people.
I think it's quite refreshing. If you think back to concerts we've done in our past, I mean, the percentage that were done in churches, for example, or religious music, and most people doing it aren't religious, you know, but it's probably the first ever atheist concert
I've never heard. I looked, and I've never heard of one before. And I've especially never heard of songs being specifically geared towards that. There are a million religious songs. And now, at least, there are 2 new sets.
And do you think there's a reason even for why composers don't really approach atheism or atheist texts?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I think it's a shame, and I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, and it's maybe a good thing that it's almost building a tradition, like a new tradition, right? Because
Hopefully.
there's the religious traditions and texts and everything, but
I just want it, if it builds anything, I want it to build a culture of, instead of when you do a recital, instead of, oh, I'm going to do some Debussy and I'm going to do some this and that. Figure out what you want to say and then say it.
And so what do you want to say with this concert?
I don't believe in God.
Okay.
I mean, simply put, but rather putting forward some questions, putting forward some challenges.
Okay, so you want to challenge the audience as well. It's not just
Absolutely.
you with your opinion.
And I challenge myself with it too.
In what way?
It's always good to remind or to challenge any dearly held belief that you had. Always take the other side seriously, which so seldom happens in today's society.
Yeah. So how did you go about choosing the repertoire that we're going to do in the concert?
Well, there are a million billion songs, like we said before, that are religious. There are fewer that are sort of questioning, like clearly questioning, not just in text but musically. The religious songs I just took from the old American songs. From Copland, which are great, and they're clearly professing some sort of older American tradition, American religious tradition, which the whole recital is American composers. So it was important to me that we got an honest capturing of religious song by an American composer. Ives,
he was actually an atheist, though, wasn't he, Copland?
It could be. Could be. I mean, I actually don't know that, was he?
Okay, I think he was.
I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but that'd be cool. That'd be cool. That song cycle was in general just folk songs. So he took some of the old Shaker songs, like Simple Gifts is an old Shaker song, which I don't know if you know, but do you know the story behind Shakers?
No, not really.
So it was a religious sect in America where when they prayed, they would literally shake like this.
Okay.
So Simple Gifts is actually from one of these Protestant Shaker hymns. And Ives is just simply the most underperformed, underappreciated songwriter in all of song history. His songs, he wrote 114 of them, and then he printed them himself. And he was independently wealthy because he was successful in the financial, or in the insurance industry. And he even writes in the back, well, these songs will never be performed.
Yeah.
They'll probably never be performed. And he even writes specific numbers that should never be performed. Even if people get their hands on them. I kind of wanted to do the whole recital of just those songs, just because he's dead.
What I find cool is, like you're talking about, we start with a kind of certainty of faith with the Copland, don't we? And you're going to come in, and the songs are very harmonically strong. They're very traditional in a way. And then there's this moment, isn't there, which we've kind of put together, where the doubt almost immediately creeps in. And with the Ives, you have this harmonic world that's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more shifting. And
shifting's the right word.
Yeah, and suddenly the firm ground that you're on kind of is moving all over the place. A little bit like when you've gone from a position of faith to doubting and then on the road to atheism.
Precisely.
So as we move through the recital, we really go on this journey, don't we, towards doubt and ultimate complete atheism.
What I love is they both set at the river.
Yeah.
And we've put them right next to each other, and they transition eerily well together, as if Ives had it in his mind that Copland was going to write that.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Of course, Copland wrote it much later than Ives did. But like you said, it all feels shaky. It all feels uncertain, which is that was my personal journey. That's how I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we move to the new compositions, and we've there been able to break new ground because we've set or asked the composers to set texts that have not been set before, right?
That's right. I don't know of any settings of the Crane poems, which Crane was, he was known more specifically for writing his novels.
Okay, yeah.
But Michael Ippolito has also, I don't know why, I don't think I've ever told him this before, he's an old friend of mine, but he has such a specifically American sound. From my ears. I don't know why. Yeah. But I could not imagine that his music was composed anywhere else. It just seems to fit.
Do you mean, so does he come in and kind of, he reminds you of other American composers?
No, not necessarily.
Just a musical
but
thing.
When I hear it, sometimes I hear something in music and I just can't explain why. It just is, there's something about it that is intellectually free.
Yeah, and they're very beautifully crafted, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're very specific to the text, and the ideas within them represent what's being mentioned in the text incredibly well.
Totally.
It's really interesting.
And then we go on to Jared Ives' pieces.
Yeah, and the exciting thing with Jared's stuff is it's very direct, isn't it? I mean, the texts anyway are direct. They're not carefully crafted poems. They're just monologues from people.
That's right. And he writes them. I mean, he really bookends the set with two pieces that are more song-like, and in the middle, you have these presentations of doubting ideas.
Yeah, and almost anger in some ways.
There's a lot of anger, which again reflects the journey.
Yeah.
You know, you go from believing, and then finally you allow some of these ideas to creep in. Yeah. And then you're uncertain, and then with the Ippolito, you try to intellectually do it, and then when you finally recognize that that belief is an active thing, and you can't just believe a little bit. You either believe or don't believe, right? And then you think to yourself, well, I believed that for so long. I was like 26 when I stopped believing. 26 years I believed in this idea, which, you know, didn't do me any harm. I loved my experience as a religious person, but there are so many things that you have to contend with that religion also does, and that's where the anger comes out here. And,
and we really feel that as we get towards the end, don't we, with the Billy Connolly setting at the end. It's just so direct, powerful.
We can't talk about it. You got to see it. I'm not going to say anything, but it's incredible.
It's going to be really exciting.
How did you go about preparing for this? Not just musically, I know we have to practice, but what did you do to get into this?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, you always had a very firm concept of what you wanted to do. I mean, you asked me to do this concept when we were in the pub. You were already excited about the idea.
Right.
So for me, it was about kind of also getting hold of the overarching kind of picture of what you wanted and this journey we've talked about that begins with this certainty and leads to this doubt. So with the musical preparation as well, because we've also got to highlight bits of the text that make sense to us. But it's been really exciting since we've been working directly together on the stuff to form this kind of emotions. And there's some points where we work through the song and we feel that some parts don't quite move in the way that they should, or there's a bit in the text we particularly want to have a particular emotion. So it's been really good as we've worked on that. And then you've mentioned moments like we have these two settings of the same text by Copland and then Ives. And the way that we found to kind of juxtapose those two together, I think we both felt was a really exciting moment.
That was a really exciting moment. The two sets, period, are exciting next to each other. But when we found that, and it was almost as if we added a new
and I think
verse to the
there's
song.
often a perception that with concerts and with lead, it's almost impersonal.
That's right.
You know, we come from an opera background where we're constantly working with characters and drama, and I think this idea that you're almost a figure that's taking on a character, you know, is exciting, and it brings the whole thing much more to life.
That's exactly how I feel about it. First off, I've never believed in the idea of the Lieder where you sit there and you just deliver like that.
It's got to be communication. You know?
Communication is the only thing that's important to me.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is a character, and I get to play myself as the character.
That's cool.
Which is why this has never been more deeply, I've never had a project that's more deeply personal to me. My preparation led me to really think about the journey that I had, how I got there, reread texts that I saw, watch debates, watch the great row of debates, or raya of debates, that Christopher Hitchens had when he put out the book God Is Not Great.
Yeah.
When he went to his publisher, he said, I don't want to just go and do a book reading at a bookstore. I want you to set up a Christian, Muslim, Jewish apologist that I can debate with.
Yeah.
And there's a series of like 15 debates
he
goes, and it's the height of addressing this question, and I've never learned more from consuming any media in my life than from those things.
Have there been any surprises for you as we've kind of gone through this process of preparing?
The surprises have been how fun it was to treat it as a straight collaboration instead. There was never a moment where I'm like, this is how we're doing it, or where you said it to me, or one of the composers said it to me. It's always been a matter of discovery.
Absolutely.
So fun. We had with the cage.
Yeah.
The cage, one of Ives' pieces.
You mean sorry.
It's not the easiest song to interpret. And we each had pretty wildly different ideas.
Yeah, we were quite firm in what we thought.
Exactly. I wanted to convince you, you wanted to convince me, and in the end, we found something completely new, just kind of by walking to the middle. And I don't mean to get political or anything, but it feels like the world could use a lot of that nowadays.
Absolutely.
I feel this, you feel this, let's walk to the middle.
Because I think also in working in an opera house, there is sometimes these feelings that there are hierarchies, you know, and maybe the singer comes in and the pianist gives all their ideas and the singer has to take them. But of course it works better with collaboration. And I think, like you say, not just between us, but we can give Michael Ippolito a call.
That's right.
He can give us his ideas.
Jared Ives is around and he's coming and...
Jared's been actively, involved in the process.
And that's been one of my favorite things is to say, or to hear how Jared said, "This, I intended it this way, you guys did it this way, and I like it."
Yeah.
Which means that it's not my creation, it's not your creation, it's not his creation, it is a creation.
Yeah.
Somehow just out of the spontaneous mixture of different opinions. Yeah. I'm so excited for the
It's going to be really good. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
If you guys are interested in hearing it live, it's on October 14th, 2020 at the Staatstheater Darmstadt at 8 o'clock. There are still tickets available, so contact the ticket office.
It's going to be really exciting, and we really want it to be a relaxed environment. Anchor Beer is sponsoring us, which is very exciting, so everyone will be able to have a beer. And after the concert, we're going to be around to chat to people, see how people thought and felt about the concert. So please come along. It's going to be exciting.
We'd love to see you there.